Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tetris and Talking with me, Rolling Redneck. Usually, we deal with the common political issues and theories I have here, but now I'm going to get a little esoteric. Seems that every time a party is out of power in the Senate or in the courts, they start talking court reform. None of what the Democrats are saying is new now. During the Bush era, a lot of Republicans were talking about how the court was activist and all that. If you deign to look at some of the Pat Robertson 700 Club archives that I saw, when I was a kid, after watching Whose Lines Anyway on ABC Family, you will hear him talk a lot about activist judges as Klansmen in black robes or whatever. And, we all have differing ideas about court reform when we're not the side in power. Some say term limits, some say the judges should be elected, whatever. Some say expand the court. I believe I remember Pat Robertson talking about saying, well, hey, we could lower the salaries of judges they don't rule the way we want. Bear in mind, I was 16 at the time, so my memory may be a little fuzzy on that. At least I'm honest. But all talk of court reform seems to be ignoring what I consider to be the main issue. They don't actually have the consent of the governed. Think about it. They're largely unelected, and more importantly, they're completely insulated. Now, when I say insulated, I don't mean that they have the best insulated houses or whatever. I mean that none of their decisions will actually matter to them because they're protected from the consequences. To which, let's look at two rulings from both sides, or two hypotheticals from both sides, actually. A judge who is exceedingly liberal can make a radical anti-gun ruling because she lives with 100% police protection. It doesn't matter to her whether or not the little people have instantaneous police protection. She can call the police and they'll be there in a snap. But those people who live out in the hinterland, whose version of police is more concerned with writing traffic tickets at the local speed trap because there's no other way through that town to make money, will have to protect himself. But that won't matter to the judge. On the same token, some conservative judge can say, well, I understand that the people of insert a random community here want laws to stop the stop corporations from putting cancer juice in their water, this obscure judge from 1837 has a differing philosophy about whether or not the government can stop people from, or can stop a business from putting cancer juice in the water. So I hereby overrule the Stop Putting Cancer Juice in Water Act. I'm gonna go back to my home with clean water now. Good luck. And this maximum insulation that the courts have will always contribute to division, anger, and generalized nonsense. Which is not really good for society, no matter what some people think. Because having people exempt from the rules and rulings that they make will always lead to problems. So, what is the solution for this? I mean, you can have term limits, you can have age limits, whatever you want, but that still doesn't get at the root of the problem that our courts are inherently insulated institutions, fully free from any consequences of what they might do. So I've been racking my brain and trying to figure out what the best way to handle the situation is in a way that isn't super divisive. And here's what I've come up with. Less judges, more juries. Instead of some person who is exceedingly rich and lives the high life, coming down from on high to base his opinions on the philosophies of people who died 200 years ago, let's have juries of average people decide what the law should be. I mean, we have juries deciding whether or not somebody should be put to death. Certainly, we can stand for a jury to decide whether or not the Clean Water Act is constitutional. And I know that's crazy. But then again, getting rid of monarchs, or rather, restricting them to ceremonial powers, was considered crazy back in the day too. So what is so crazy about restricting the power of a group of unelected people from, overruling laws that they just don't like? And let's be honest, that's what most Supreme Court decisions, whether they're left wing or conservative, really are. Just a bunch of unelected people deciding, oh, I just don't like this law. Screw you. But here is what I think it would solve. It would, you know, make the government seem more legitimate. Right now, our courts base things they decide on philosophy of people that are dead, or their own personal philosophies. They can go home at the end of the day and they'll be safe. John Roberts could throw out Medicaid, but even though but he will be safe His epilepsy medication will always be covered. Mine, in that instance, would not be. Sonia Sotomayor could make some radical anti-gun ruling, and she'll go home safe. But a lot of the people who don't live with consistent police protection will not be. But a jury, however, is not safe. If a jury rules against the Clean Water Act for some weird philosophical reason, guess what? They're drinking the water. Ergo, they might reconsider these rulings that they might make. And I know some people will say, well, the founding fathers didn't want the courts to have to consider things that will affect them personally. They only wanted them talking about philosophy. Counterpoint, the founding fathers were wrong about a lot of things. They thought black people were farm equipment. So maybe we can ignore the founding fathers a little at this point. If we have juries full of people who will be affected by their decisions, there won't be such rage at every Supreme Court decision. And of course, we could still have Supreme Courts and federal courts, but maybe they should be restricted to being moderators rather than the end-all be-all. I think a jury of people who will be affected by whatever decision they make should be the arbiter of whether or not something the government does should be legal. I mean, sure, we'll probably get some bad decisions out of a jury too. But again, they'll have to live with the bad decision. But yeah, that is just a random theory that I had. Make of it what you will and leave a comment. Have a nice day, like and subscribe.